Well, we're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipak Shikurana, coming up in the next hour. Tensions soar in West Asia as Israel army chief tells soldiers to prepare for a possible ground offensive in Lebanon. France proposes 21-day ceasefire. US says risk of escalation acute. Russian President Putin proposes broader criteria for using nuclear weapons, says Russia will consider nuclear response in event of massive air attack. Thousands evacuated in Florida as the U.S. state braces for Hurricane Helen, expected to hit as Category 4 on Thursday evening local time. Retreating monsoon halts Mumbai in its tracks. Heavy rains prediction for today triggers closure of schools and colleges. Citizens asked to step out only when necessary. India's PM Modi to inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of projects worth over 22,600 crore rupees in Pune today. Will also dedicate to the nation 3 indigenously developed computers. And Real Madrid's Kylian Mbape suffers muscle injury, doubtful for Sunday's away derby against Atletico Madrid. And on the top story this hour, Israel's army chief said that airstrikes in Lebanon would continue in order to destroy Hezbollah infrastructure and to prepare the way for a possible ground operation by Israeli forces. The Israeli military said a Hezbollah missile intercepted near Israel's economic center, Tel Aviv, is the first fired by the militant group to reach close to the city. Hezbollah said it had targeted the headquarters of Israel's intelligence service, Mossad. Meanwhile, Israel widened its airstrikes in Lebanon. Israeli airstrikes this week have targeted Hezbollah leaders and hit hundreds of sites deep inside Lebanon, where hundreds of thousands have fled the border region. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday repeated a vow to return the tens of thousands of Israelis evacuated from northern border areas to their homes and said the Hezbollah was being hit harder than it could imagine.
I can't go into detail about everything we do, but I can tell you one thing. We are determined to return our residents in the north safely to their homes. We are inflicting blows on Hezbollah that they did not imagine. We do it with power. We do it with guile. I promise you one thing, we will not rest until they come home.
Also, France on Wednesday unveiled a proposal for a 21-day ceasefire in Lebanon in a UN diplomatic push with the United States to allow for negotiations in the escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah on Wednesday. Shortly after talks at the United Nations between Presidents Joe Biden and Emmanuel Macron, France outlined the proposal at an Emergency Security Council session. Deputy U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Robert Wood, told the Council that the U.S. was working with other countries to avert an escalation of hostilities, enable displaced people in Lebanon and Israel to return home, and allow for discussions on a broader diplomatic solution. Also, French Foreign Minister Jean-Noel Barrot said that the two Western powers were proposing a temporary ceasefire of 21 days to allow for negotiations. He said it is urgent that all actors engage resolutely on a path of de-escalation. Barrot is due to travel to Lebanon this week. And as United States and France are trying to hammer out an interim accord to halt hostilities between Israel and the Lebanese Hezbollah, Cyprus President Nikos Christodoulis on Wednesday met Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York and spoke to French and Israeli leaders as well.
During the last days, there are a lot of deliberations that we're trying to avoid further escalation, especially with Lebanon. I was in the phone with Prime Minister Netanyahu on Saturday, Prime Minister Mikati. Last night I had a meeting with Prime Minister Macron, and there is a diplomatic, I would say, initiative, especially from the United States and France, in order to avoid further escalation.
Well, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres also voiced concern over escalation in Lebanon at the United Nations Security Council. He said all-out war must be avoided at all cost.
Madam President, Excellencies, hell is breaking loose in Lebanon. As I told the General Assembly yesterday, we should all be alarmed by the escalation. Lebanon is at the brink.
And for more, we have Amit Mukherjee joining us. Well, Amit, good morning. If you talk about the present situation, Israel's army chief says the military is preparing for a possible ground incursion into Lebanon. And on the other hand, France and US are working on a 21-day ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. Where do you see all this going? Will the diplomatic push work?
Well, Lipakshi, it's speculation at this point in time, but definitely the words that echoed in the UN Security Council yesterday was ceasefire, peace, and immediate de-escalation. Now, everybody is concerned, the world community is concerned about what is going on right now in Lebanon and the offensive that has been launched by Israel in the Lebanese territory. Now, having said that, I would also like to say that this has been happening since October 7th, when the Hamas squad actually abducted Israeli citizens. And ever since that had happened, Hezbollah has constantly been attacking the northern borders of Israel on a regular interval. In fact, 9,000 rockets Hezbollah has fired about 9,000 rockets till date since the breakout of Israel-Hamas conflict. So definitely Israel yesterday also reiterated that it's the time for half-baked measures are over, and they are going all out against Hezbollah right now. And we have seen in the past 3-4 days that they have invaded, that they have gone into the territory of Lebanon and have identified and decimated and attacked a lot of launch pads which Hezbollah has been using in Lebanon to launch their attacks against Israel. Now, everybody right now is focusing on a peace deal, a ceasefire, because even Iranian president yesterday, Masoud Pezeshkian, yesterday said in the assembly that the world is watching, and if Israel is kind of not controlled at this point in time, combinedly, it might lead to another Gaza.
Right.
So the concern is really it's a grave situation out there, and the world community is looking for a way out at this point in time. Lipakshi?
Right, Amit. As you mentioned, Iran said it very categorically that it would not remain indifferent in a full-scale war in Lebanon and will stand with it. How do we take this?
Well, first of all, the statement itself is a very clear indication that Iran has been backing the Hezbollah. And yes, in fact, they said it in as many words that they will not be indifferent, and they're going to definitely be a part of this ongoing conflict. Maybe as of now, they have been doing it in an indirect manner, and probably they would jump into the whole arena in a more and more proactive manner, unless and until sort of a ceasefire or a de-escalations kind of charted out in the next few days. And even Russia has been talking about de-escalation. Now, France have been very emphatic about this 21-day ceasefire, which would ensure safety of civilians of both sides, Israel as well as the ones who are residing in Lebanon. And in fact, Antonio Guterres, who's the head of UN, has also been reiterating the fact that we have to avoid this. It is leading to a catastrophic situation, and that needs to be addressed with immediate effect. They have been sitting across the table, the entire world community, and looking at ways. But yes, Benjamin Netanyahu and as well as the Israeli generals, they are very adamant of the fact that this has been happening for the last 1 year now, and it has to end, which is why they are going all out. In fact, as you rightly said, they have requisitioned in 2 brigades for the additional reinforcement when they are talking about a possible ground invasion in the Lebanese territory. Lipakshi?
All right, Amit, thank you so much for all those details about that. And meanwhile, Israel's UN ambassador Danny Danon said his country is open to a diplomatic solution on Lebanon, but vows to use all means in its goal of degrading Iranian-backed militia Hezbollah.
Our position regarding Lebanon has always been very clear. We would prefer a diplomatic solution. We are entirely focused on achieving our objectives, which in the north is the return of our displaced citizens who have become refugees in their own country, back to their homes, back to their schools, back to their families. Do not mistake a peaceful nation for a defenseless one. We have the means, we have the capabilities to achieve this goal. If diplomacy fails to return our residents to their homes, then we will use all means at our disposal in accordance with international law to achieve our aims.
Well, before the council meeting, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said his country supported Hezbollah and would not remain indifferent if the conflict in Lebanon spiraled.
Hezbollah decides for itself, and it is completely able to defend itself and to defend Lebanon and Lebanese people. We have always said that we support Hezbollah in its just cause to defend Lebanon and its people against the atrocities of Israel and against its occupation. Hezbollah has done nothing to violate the resolution. The resolution prevents any manifestation of military presence which has not happened by Israel.
Well, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer also called for diplomacy and an immediate ceasefire to bring Israel and Hezbollah back from the brink at a UN Security Council meeting.
I call on the Security Council to seek political solutions that can break repeated cycles of violence like that in the Middle East. The region is on the brink. We need an immediate ceasefire between Israel and Lebanese Hezbollah and the implementation of a political plan which allows Israeli and Lebanese civilians to return to their homes to live in peace and security. That security will come through diplomacy, not escalation.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Trump implicates Iran in his assassination attempts after being briefed by intelligence officials. Another incident of vandalism of Hindu temple reported in US's California after a similar act took place at the Baptist Mandir in New York. And we'll tell you about the world's first 3D printed hotel where technology and the hospitality industry are converging in a West Texas desert.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. Moving on, Russia's President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday warned that Russia could resort to nuclear weapons if it faced any form of attack, declaring that even a conventional strike supported by nuclear power would be treated as a joint assault. Addressing top officials at a Security Council meeting, Putin revealed proposed changes to Russia's nuclear doctrine, emphasizing a critical shift. He stressed that Russia now reserves the right to use nuclear weapons in defense, not only of of itself but also of Belarus, even if attacked with conventional arms. Putin framed these revisions as a calculated response to the evolving military threats confronting Russia, signaling a stark escalation in the country's defense posture amidst rising global tensions.
The updated version of the document proposes that aggression against Russia by a non-nuclear weapon state, but with the participation or support of a nuclear weapon state, should be regarded as a joint attack on the Russian Federation. The conditions for Russia's transition to the use of nuclear weapons are also clearly defined. We will consider such a possibility as soon as we receive reliable information about a massive launch of aerospace attack means and their crossing of our state border, meaning strategic or tactical aircraft, cruise missiles, drones, hypersonic missiles, and other aircraft.
Well, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump on Wednesday said that Iran may have been behind recent attempts to assassinate him. Trump's remarks came after U.S. intelligence officials briefed him on real and specific threats from Iran to assassinate him.
As you know, there have been 2 assassination attempts on my life that we know of, and they may or may not involve, but possibly do, Iran. But we've been threatened very directly by Iran, and I think you have to let them know, because the best way to do it is through the office of the president, that you do any attacks on former presidents or candidates for president, your country gets blown to smithereens, as we say.
While U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris said that she would offer tax credits to domestic manufacturers and invest in sectors that will define the next century, as she detailed her economic plan to boost the U.S. middle class at the Economic Club of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania.
I have pledged that building a strong middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. The third pillar of our opportunity economy is leading the world in the industries of the future and making sure America, not China, wins the competition for the 21st century. So I will recommit the nation to global leadership in the sectors that will define the next century. We will invest in biomanufacturing and aerospace, remain dominant in AI and quantum computing, blockchain and other emerging technologies, expand our lead in clean energy innovation and manufacturing.
Well, Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said on Wednesday that the Mexican president-elect's decision to exclude King Philip VI from the guest list of a swearing-in ceremony was absolutely unacceptable. Mexico's president-elect Claudia Sheinbaum posted a statement on her X account announcing she had decided to invite only the Spanish Prime Minister to her inauguration. In response, the Spanish government said that exclusion of the king was unacceptable, and as a result, none of its members would attend Sheinbaum's inauguration.
The Spanish government considers Mexico a brotherly country. Spain and Mexico are brotherly countries, and therefore, we think it's absolutely unacceptable that the presence of our head of state is excluded. A head of the state who, by the way, has participated in all the inaugurations.
Well, moving on, Taiwan on Thursday said that 43 Chinese aircraft and 8 naval vessels were detected around the democratic island within a 24-hour period. China, which claims democratic Taiwan as part of its territory, sends warplanes, drones and naval vessels around the island nearly every day. The latest incursions came as Japanese media reported that a Japanese warship sailed through the sensitive Taiwan Strait for the first time to assert its freedom of navigation. There was no immediate confirmation from Tokyo of the passage, which media reports said took place on Wednesday following similar journeys by U.S. and European navies in recent years. And Sri Lanka's newly elected President Anurakkumara Dissanayake announced plans to immediately begin talks with the International Monetary Fund to advance the country's $2.9 billion bailout program. Dissanayake, who was elected just a couple of days ago, laid stress on the need to move quickly in renegotiating the terms of the IMF bailout and advancing debt restructuring efforts. Dissanayake added that he aims to conclude a deal to restructure the country's international sovereign bonds and secure additional concessions for the struggling economy. The IMF, which provided a financial lifeline to Sri Lanka during its 2022 economic collapse, expressed a readiness to resume negotiations with the new government. And well, another incident of vandalism of Hindu temple reported in U.S. California on Wednesday. The BAP's Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in the Sacramento area of California was desecrated with hateful messages. A peace prayer calling for peace and unity was held at the temple premises. Sacramento County Mayor and officials attended the prayer meet. According to the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office, sheriff deputies responded to the BAP's Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in Madhya, where the graffiti was discovered. Deputies also said that vandals had also cut water lines at the property. Earlier, a similar incident of vandalism took place at the BAP's Swaminarayan Temple in New York on September 17, 2024. And U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield announced that the United States will give a further $424 million in humanitarian help to the people of Sudan. The announcement takes total U.S. funding since the war began to $2 billion. The U.S. ambassador said more than 25 million Sudanese face acute hunger. Many are in famine and some 11 million have fled their homes in what has become the worst humanitarian crisis on the planet. War erupted in mid-April last year from a power struggle between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces ahead of the planned transition to civilian rule. And global weather updates now. Hurricane Helen is forecast to rapidly strengthen and could hit Florida on Thursday as a Category 4 storm. Helen entered the Gulf of Mexico on Wednesday and was expected to pick up strength from the Gulf's warm waters before making an expected landfall in Florida's Panhandle on Thursday evening. According to the Hurricane Center, more than 40 million people in Florida, Georgia and Alabama were under hurricane and tropical storm warnings. Meanwhile, evacuations are underway and residents of St. Petersburg, Florida are taking proactive measures by filling up sandbags before Storm Helen. Also, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis expanded his state of emergency declaration to nearly all of Florida's 67 counties as the U.S. state braces for Hurricane Helen, forecast to barrel ashore as a powerful, potentially deadly storm.
Course, began preparing over the weekend. On Monday, I signed an executive order. We now have 61 of Florida's 67 counties that are in a state of emergency, and it's been able to help surge resources and help with preparations there.
Well, at a news briefing in Atlanta, the state's emergency management agency said Hurricane Helen will have a significant impact on Georgia.
I don't want to put fear in some folks' voice. We're all concerned about the impacts, but there's the potential of even mudslides that the National Hurricane Center has been discussing in our mountainous areas, just because the ground is going to be so saturated.
Meanwhile, Hurricane John fell apart as quickly as it formed but left destruction along Mexico's southern Pacific coast. John first made landfall at major hurricane strength, triggering flooding and landslides that crushed homes while leaving at least 5 dead. A meteorologist of Civil Protection predicted a fresh round of intense rainfall through Friday. The Miami-based Hurricane Center flagged the possibility that John could again become a hurricane before it strikes the coast. The center warned of likely catastrophic flash flooding and mudslides across 4 states along Mexico's Pacific coast. An Indian Meteorological Department on Wednesday issued a red alert warning for Mumbai, Maharashtra till Thursday morning. In wake of the red alert issued by the Met Department, schools and colleges will remain closed, as well as severe waterlogging and traffic snarls was witnessed in several parts of the city, with a landslide also reported at the Mumbai bypass, causing further disruptions to movement in the city. Mumbai Municipal Corporation are constantly reviewing the situation and has advised people of the city to only step out of their homes if required. And moving on, firefighters battled 5 blazes on the outskirts of Ecuador's capital, Quito. Some 2,000 firefighters, military personnel and rescue workers have been deployed in Quito to try to contain the blazes and bring residents in affected areas to safety. So far, at least 6 people have been injured, including 2 children and 2 firefighters, and around 100 families evacuated from their homes. The emergency led President Daniel Noboa to cancel his speech at the UN General Assembly and return home from New York on Tuesday. The Minister of Environment confirmed the cause of the wildfire was an arson. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Environmentalists from Sweden sprayed red paint on the Finnish Parliament building to demand political action against peat mining industry. Peat are extracted from wetlands, which emits large amounts of carbon dioxide into the air. World's first 3D printed hotel is taking shape in Texas. An industrial-size 3D printer is extruding layer after layer of a concrete mixture to form the walls of the hotel's first 2 model units. It is building 43 new hotel units and 18 residential homes over 40 acres with a 3D printer. The owner said the technology allows for unbridled creativity in construction. The Zoological Society of London showed keepers preparing tiny snails for release into the wild and overlooking their reintroduction. A global conservationist project discovered wild-born adult Partula tohivina snails in French Polynesia for the first time in 40 years. The find confirmed that these once extinct in the wild species are now finally breeding in the wild. The Desert Song Festival in Central Australia has concluded its final performance after 11 years of drawing global visitors to the Red Centre. Organisers cite funding constraints and rising costs as reasons for the festival's end, but express hope that its legacy will endure and continue to inspire.
On the banks of a sacred waterhole.
And still to come, indeed, India News Hour. India's President Draupadi Murmu to visit Siachen base camp in Ladakh today. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held several bilaterals on the sidelines of the 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York. And the second phase of J&K Assembly polls records turnout of over 57%.
Global warming and climate change are political and ethical issues. They're issues of rights, of equality, and of justice. Let's take a look at some of these questions that surround the idea of climate justice.
We have to move to green energy, which is solar and wind and all others. And therefore, we cannot have such a large area for conservation of the GIB.
Art doesn't sort of hit you on the head and sort of make you feel defensive. It proposes, and then the viewer can take away an idea, thought, and hopefully act on it to make a bit of a difference.
They had a show called Shubh Kaal, and it was one of their oldest radio programs. So I used that show as my platform and started to work on creating content around climate change for this particular show.
On multiple hats in the Indian sports bodies and the international sports bodies.
It's for India is very, very important for us, and it's not only to me but for the country.
To act as a catalyst to put yoga on a different level.
It's a pet project as far as the Prime Minister is concerned. He himself is very keen on yoga and is always there promoting yoga.
Welcome back. You're watching India News. I'm Lepakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Tensions soar in West Asia as Israel Army chief tells soldiers to prepare for a possible ground offensive in Lebanon. France proposes 21-day ceasefire. US says risk of escalation acute. Russian President Putin proposes broader criteria for using nuclear weapons, says Russia will consider nuclear response in event of massive air attack. Thousands evacuated in Florida as the U.S. state braces for Hurricane Helen, expected to hit as Category 4 on Thursday evening local time. Retreating monsoon halts Mumbai in its tracks. Heavy rains prediction for today triggers closure of schools and colleges. Citizens asked to step out only when necessary. India's PM Modi to inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of projects worth over 22,600 crore rupees in Pune today. Will also dedicate to the nation 3 indigenously developed computers. And Real Madrid's Kylian Mbape suffers muscle injury, doubtful for Sunday's away derby against Atletico Madrid. And moving on, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Pune on Thursday. He will address a rally and inaugurate a new underground metro corridor. DD India's UK's Kumar Sheetal reports for more.
Pune is all set to get another infrastructure push by Modi government. The PM is scheduled to inaugurate the new underground metro corridor from Civil Court to Swargate and will also lay the foundation stone for an elevated route.
Pune is the second largest city of Maharashtra, which has gone through a tremendous transformation in urban transportation in the last 1 decade. And Pune Metro actually symbolizes this. According to news reports, around 4 lakh people traveled through Pune Metro in Ganpati festival couple of days back, which shows that the extension of metro line and new metro tracks are heartbeat of the moment.
Pune Metro is the first metro in the country with aluminium body coaches, which makes it lightest metro in the country. 100% water recycling at the station with zero effluent discharge, no tree cutting policy, integration of rooftop, Greek connector solar energy are some of the unique features of the Pune Metro.
Pune Metro are known to be the first greenest metro that we are establishing. We are almost creating 11 megawatt of rooftop solar systems. Not just that, we are also the greenest metro in the form of we have not done any tree cutting. We have always gone for tree transplantation.
Meanwhile, Punekars are excited to witness the infrastructure boost the cultural capital of the Maharashtra is witnessing.
After taking charge as the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi has visited Maharashtra 42 times. But this time, since the Maharashtra Assembly election is around the corner, this visit marks not only political significance but also a political significance at the same time. With my colleague Kapil, this is Yogesh Kumar Sheetal reporting for DD India from Maharashtra.
And moving on, President of India Draupadi Murmu will visit Siachen base camp in North India's Ladakh on Thursday. The President will interact with the troops posted at the Siachen base camp. President Murmu will be the country's 3rd president to visit Siachen, the world's highest battlefield. Former Presidents APJ Abdul Kalam and Ramnath Kovind also visited the Siachen base camp. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a bilateral meeting with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on Wednesday on the sidelines of the 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York. During the meeting, both the leaders discussed bilateral cooperation and regional issues. Dr. Jaishankar also held a meeting with the Belgian Prime Minister and discussed manufacturing and technology cooperation as well as exchanging their views on the situation in Ukraine amid the Russian-Ukraine conflict. India's EAM also held talks with Greek Foreign Minister Georgios Geropetritis and discussed an array of topics including shipping, energy, mobility, connectivity and defence. Dr. Jaishankar also met UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy and held talks with him on strengthening the India-UK Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. Dr. Jaishankar also met several delegates and diplomats on the sidelines of UNGA, including foreign ministers of Kazakhstan, Morocco, Australia, New Zealand and Swiss Federal Chancellor, among many others. Also, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar signed the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Agreement on Wednesday at the UN headquarters. Dr. Jaishankar, in a social media post, said, and I quote, "India is proud to join the BBNJ agreement, an important step towards ensuring that our oceans remain healthy and resilient." The agreement under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, or the BBNJ agreement, was adopted on 19th of June 2023 by the Intergovernmental Conference on Marine Biodiversity of Areas Beyond National Jurisdiction, convened under the auspices of the United Nations. The BBNJ agreement becomes the third implementing agreement to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And the second phase of J&K Assembly polls records turnout of 57.03% till 11:45 p.m. Polling was conducted across the 6 districts of Badgam, Ganderbal, Poonch and Jammu regions of Rajouri, Riyasi and Srinagar, with 25.78 lakh electors eligible to cast voters to decide fate of 239 candidates in the second phase. A delegation of diplomats from 15 foreign nations visited different parts of Kashmir to get a taste of India's free and fair democracy in action. Invited by India's Ministry of External Affairs, the delegation represented the US, Mexico, Guyana, South Korea, Somalia, Panama, Singapore, Nigeria, Spain, South Africa, Norway, Tanzania, Rwanda, Algeria and the Philippines. Well, J&K Assembly elections are taking place after 10 years and for the first time after abrogation of the erstwhile state's special status in 2019. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Defense Research and Development Organization along with IIT Delhi developed a lightweight bulletproof jacket named ABHAD. For Army personnel weighing 8.2 kgs, these modular design jackets have front and rear armors which provides 360-degree protection. India's Bharatiya Janata Party National President JP Nadda is set to visit Odisha and Chhattisgarh today. During his visit, Nadda will meet BJP MPs, MLAs and party workers at the party headquarters in the states and hold discussions. He will provide guidance on the party's ongoing membership drive across various locations. India's West Bengal State Bharatiya Janata Party President Sukanta Majumdar announced a break on protest over the rape and murder of the trainee doctor of RG Kar Medical College. The decision was made ahead of the Durga Puja festivals. However, he said that BJP would continue with the protest after the celebrations until Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee is forced to resign. Justice Rajiv Shakdar took office as 29th Chief Justice of High Court of India's Himachal Pradesh on Wednesday. He will replace Chief Justice M.S. Ramachandra Rao, who has recently been appointed as the Chief Justice of Jharkhand High Court. Rajiv Shakdar will retire on October 18th. Accordingly, his tenure is less than a month. Ahead of Navratri festival, hundreds of sculptors from the Indian state of West Bengal are busy preparing the idols of Ma Durga. Navratri will be celebrated from 3rd of October to 12th of October 2024. Well, India marks 10 years of the Make in India initiative, driving the nation's rise as a global manufacturing hub. With exports surging and sectors like mobile phones, steel and defense production booming, the country is now a key player in the global economy, propelling India to new heights.
India has risen as a global economic powerhouse, captivating attention of investors worldwide. Through strategic initiatives like Make in India, the nation is cementing its place on the international stage, with a booming manufacturing sector and increasing exports driving its growth. As Make in India completes 10 years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted how the initiative is propelling the country forward. The production-linked incentive schemes have been game changers, enabling investments of millions of dollars and generating hundreds of thousands of jobs. Over the 1 decade, Make in India has transformed the manufacturing landscape. Mobile phone manufacturing has skyrocketed from just 2 units in 2014 to over 200, making India the second largest mobile manufacturer in the world.
In 2014-15, we were importing
74% of the mobile phones which were being sold in India. Today, we are manufacturing 99.2% of the mobile phones sold in India are manufactured in India, and in addition, we are also exporting a large number of mobile phones from the country.
India's defense production exports have soared 21 times, from $120 million to over $2.5 billion. With the aim to bring modern travel to India, Vande Bharat trains have been launched with state-of-the-art coaches that have transformed passenger travel experience. Make in India not only saved lives domestically, rather globally. India achieved COVID-19 vaccine coverage in record time, becoming a major exporter of life-saving vaccines. The vibrant toy industry is not far behind, with exports increasing by 239%, particularly benefiting local manufacturers and sellers, and not to mention the little children as well. Sectors like steel, renewable energy, semiconductors have seen impressive growth, driving exports to several countries. In over a decade, semiconductor manufacturing sector attracted investments worth over $18 billion, while electric vehicle industry is now worth over $3 billion.
India Semiconductor Mission and the 5 major programs, 5 major projects which have been approved, we actually have a real manufacturing base of semiconductors in this country, which is the first real time we see it in India's history.
Indian resilience shines through global challenges. From the surge in merchandise to service exports, merchandise exports have experienced massive growth, increasing from $314 billion in 2014 to $437 billion in 2024. As India celebrates 10 years of Make in India, the momentum is stronger than ever. With Tapas Bhattacharya, Tripti Tripathi's report, DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. US Congress passes stopgap spending bill to revert government shutdown. And in sports, Carlo Alcaraz secures a spot in the season-ending ATP Finals.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on to some business news. The US Congress passed a stopgap bill on Wednesday to avert a partial government shutdown next week, despite House of Republicans' revolt against their leadership's failure to achieve new federal spending cuts. The Democratic majority Senate passed the bill by a margin of 78-18 shortly after the House of Representatives approved it. The measure will maintain the government's current level of roughly $1.2 trillion in annual discretionary funding. The bill now heads to President Joe Biden, who plans to sign it before the Tuesday shutdown deadline. Both chambers are set to adjourn this week for a lengthy recess and will not return to Washington until after the November 5th election. And Asian stocks bucked the global trend to extend a rally on Thursday, fueled by persistent optimism over China's aggressive stimulus package. The sea of green across equities in Asia came even as Wall Street closed lower overnight, with global stock indexes giving up their gains from earlier in the week. Still, MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan opens new tab, rose more than 1% to an over 2-year high on Thursday. Japan's Nikkei opens new tab surge 2.4%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index opens new tab similarly advanced 1.5%, while the mainland CSI 1300 Blue Chip Index opens new tab reversed early losses to last trade 0.3% higher. But the dollar held firm on Thursday following its sharpest rally since early June as traders looked ahead to speeches from key Federal Reserve policy makers later in the day for clues on the pace of interest rate cuts. The US currency rebounded strongly overnight from a more than 1-year low to the euro and 2.5-year trough versus sterling. While there was no obvious catalyst for the rebound, investors appeared to take a more nuanced view on just how aggressive future U.S. rate reductions would be, with Fed speakers this week not presenting a unified view on the path forward. Well, you're watching TT India News. Our time now for some sports news. Real Madrid said on Wednesday that the Cubs forward Kylian Mbape has suffered a muscle injury, casting doubt over his participation in the weekend derby against Atletico Madrid. Mbape was signed from Paris Saint-Germain this year only and has been in fine form this season, scoring 7 goals for Real in 9 matches across all competitions. The 25-year-old was substituted in the 80th minute of the 3-2 home win over Deportivo Alaves in La Liga on Tuesday and gestured to his thigh while leaving the pitch. Real also scored in the La Liga standings on 17 points, one behind Barcelona, who have a game in hand. Real will play second bottom Getafe later next week on Wednesday. And Chess Olympiad winners were felicitated by the Chess Federation of India, New Delhi on Thursday. The winners were ecstatic with the achievement and believe that this is just the start of India's dominance. On India, Chess Federations also announced cash reward for the players and coaches. Listen in.
India is the future of chess and the future is now. That's how the 45th FIDE Chess Olympiad win can be best summarized. These visuals are of hope and belief that nothing is impossible. It was a perfect Olympiad for both men and women who scripted history in the tournament.
It shows us that when you achieve something so big that you are getting recognized, both the teams were played our best and we were dominating throughout and we won in a very dominating fashion, and I think this is just the start, and I hope this will inspire many more youngsters to take up chess.
This historic win has given immense joy to the fans, and gold medalist D. Gukesh believes that it is the beginning of the country's reign as the best chess nation in the world.
Both the teams were super motivated to get the gold this time, and I think we showed that India is not just a strong country, but we are already a superpower in chess, and also it's really nice that we are only the third country to win both open and women golds at the same edition.
It's hard to overstate how totally India dominated the 2024 Budapest Olympiad. The Open team won 10 matches and tied 1 to score 21 out of 22 match points, beating the previous high of 20 by the US and Ukraine in 2016. The women's team suffered some setbacks but also finished clear first on 19 out of 21 with no need for tie breaks. The Indian women's team is happy that they could avoid the repeat of Chennai.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy to be part of this gold winning team. Previous Olympiad, we were so close to winning gold, but we missed in the last round and we had to settle with bronze. We could not really celebrate the bronze medal. although it was our historic bronze medal.
The All India Chess Federation announced a whopping rupees 3.2 crore in rewards for the historic 45th Olympiad winning Indian teams. Each player from the winning teams will receive rupees 25 lakh, while the captains of the men's and women's teams, Abhijit Kunte and Srinath Narayanan, will be rewarded with rupees 15 lakh each. Grandmaster Dibyendu Barwa, head of the Indian delegation, will receive rupees 10 lakh and the assistant coaches will be rewarded rupees 7.5 lakh. Abhishek Mahajan's report, DD India.
Earlier, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted India's gold-winning chess contingent at his residence in New Delhi on Wednesday. India returned from Budapest after registering historic victory, bagging 2 gold medals in both open and women's category at 45th Chess Olympiad. With this, Indian contingent ended 100 years of wait for the country in chess. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted India's gold-winning chess contingent at his residence in New Delhi on Wednesday. Indian contingent brought 2 gold medals for the country. India had returned from Budapest after registering historic victory, bagging 2 gold medals in both open and women's category at 45th Chess Olympiad. And with this, Indian contingent ended 100 years of wait for the country in chess Olympiad. And Carlos Alcaraz secured his place in the season-ending ATP finals to be held in Turin, joining world number 1 Jannik Sinner and twice champion Alexander Zverev. Alcaraz won the French Open in Wimbledon this year to take bagged the silver medal at the Paris Olympics. The world number 3 from Spain has qualified for the season finale for the 3rd consecutive year and will be aiming to win the trophy for the first time after reaching the semi-finals last year. Sinner qualified in August during his run to the Montreal quarter-finals. Zverev earned his spot after making the last 8 of the US Open. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.